By the early 1900s, the forest industry was experiencing a rapid introduction of new technology, mainly in the form of massive new machines. The result of this mechanization was a drastic increase in the rate at which trees were being harvested. In 1912, the provincial government asserted that, if not carefully controlled, by the middle of that century, our ability to harvest trees would exceed the capacity for the forests to regenerate. The provincial government needed to move quickly to develop and implement policies for the sustainable management of our publicly held forests. The first Forest Act was introduced in the BC legislature that year, and the Minister of Lands, William R. Ross, said at the time,
"We raise ourselves today above our transitory interests of this week, this year. We glance down the vista of the years to come, for our children's children, and for all posterity, that we may hand down to them their vast heritage of forest wealth, unexhausted and unimpaired."
In 1921, the BC Forest Service made a significant decision. A research division was created in the Forest Service with the aspiration to ensure evidence-based policy decisions. And so, the first full-time researcher was hired, J.L. Alexander. The research begun in the 1920s was fixed on supporting the policy of sustained yield by establishing long-term growth and yield plots and monitoring the survival of natural regeneration. Improvements to fire suppression were introduced to protect existing forest stands, and an inventory program was initiated to tally the vast timber resources of the province. The Eliza Lake and the Cowichan Lake experiment stations were established, and an experimental nursery was built in Saanich. By 1930, British Columbia had one of the largest and most active forest research organizations in Canada. This is one of the oldest remeasured research plots in the province, near Cowichan Lake on Vancouver Island. And it was here, in 1929, that Stig Schenstrom established the first trial of thinning young trees from a Douglas fir forest, in order to see if this would bring faster growth, greater yield, and higher wood quality to the next generation of trees. Installed nearly 100 years ago and remeasured regularly since then, this trial is still contributing to our understanding of forest productivity and long-term forest growth. By the late 1940s, the division's work revealed the diversity of forest ecosystems in BC, and it became clear that multiple approaches to forest management would be needed. Emerging forest policies depended on the growing body of research from J.L. Alexander and his colleagues. It was a positive feedback loop. Increased knowledge led to improved forest policies, and the more the citizens began to pay attention to the multiple values in their forests, such as wildlife habitat, drinking water, and recreation, the more they demanded that government manage these other values in addition to a sustained yield of timber and jobs. In 1951, a headquarters for the research division was established in Victoria, in this building. From here, the division was able to coordinate provincial trials and studies in close collaboration with elected officials and policymakers. Research staff now included specialists from a broad range of natural science fields. Geology, soil science, climatology, botany all came together to inform a framework of describing forest stands called biogeoclimatic ecosystem classification. As the research program entered its fourth and fifth decades of operations, they initiated a tree improvement program in order to study genetic diversity and to breed trees with improved growth and resistance to pests. The number of provincial research staff doubled, and field stations and experimental nurseries were established in the interior of the province. The division expanded its investigations into replicated trials to test harvesting techniques and different silvicultural systems. By the end of the 1970s, the computer age had begun. Computer modeling was enabling us to process the connections between multiple streams of information and to predict the possible outcomes of management decisions. This was the beginning of integrated resource management, where operational decisions could be weighed against multiple forest values. Data gathered by generations of researchers was entered into computer systems. The analysis of information, previously locked away in notebooks and typewritten reports, uncovered complex trends in how trees and stands responded over decades of forestry activities. The recurring measurement of plots helped develop a unique computer model called the Tree and Stand Simulator, or TAS. TAS projects the growth of forests into the future, providing a source of estimates for the expected yield of any given forest stand in the province. After 45 years and numerous recalibrations based on new data, TAS continues to inform silvicultural decisions. The introduction of computers and statistical software made data analysis a new research field of its own. Satellite imagery introduced the ability to see entire forest stands across a spectrum of light bandwidths. New field measurement technologies were developed to accurately measure light intensity under the canopy, to quantify water use in trees, and to measure nutrient uptake. The breadth of research ranged between the minutiae of individual tree growth and studies of entire landscapes, including ecosystem health, natural disturbances, water, wildlife habitats, and more recently, the bioeconomy. The province's tree improvement program was also transformed, adopting sophisticated breeding designs and field tests. Researchers worked with public and private sector partners to establish a network of seed orchards in BC, such as the installations near Kalmalka Lake. Natural resources research is still managed from offices here in Victoria. The research program has undergone immense change and growth since J.L. Alexander was hired 100 years ago. The ministry now employs dozens of researchers and technicians throughout the province. They partner with academic institutions and research facilities across Canada and around the world. Co-op students and graduate students gain critical research experience from collaborations with provincial forest research scientists. And the results of that research continue to inform policies that keep the management of BC's natural resources moving forward. The concept of sustainability has always been present in BC's forest policy and continues to be changed and refined. Looking ahead to the next 100 years, and in the face of new challenges such as those already resulting from global climate change, research and policy must continue to align towards a common purpose, to ensure that science is the foundation of managing and protecting our forest resources for today and for generations to come.